Contributing producer Greg Parker joins members of the Indiana Falconers Association to learn more about the unique partnership between man and bird.
They're just perfect hunting machines. They're aerial athletes, you know, and so to see them do what they do in the wild, and I guess when you get to the point where you have this bond and you can relax and you know what to expect from your bird knows what to expect from you, and it's like a well-trained hunting dog. You go out into the field and you work together, and there's just something very satisfying to see that develop over time.
The Indiana Falconers Association takes pride in watching nature in action. Although it is a hunting organization, the #1 priority in falconry is conservation.
Good girl.
In the wild, 70 to 80% of all hawks do not survive past their first year. That is why the IFA not only enjoys the aspect of hunting, but also eliminating the factors that threaten the hawks.
In falconry, we eliminate a lot of those things. We provide them secure shelter. We give them the chance to hone their hunting skills over time, and if they're not successful, they're still going to eat. If they get injured, they're going to get veterinary care.
Falcon hunting is considered the most natural way to hunt. In fact, it's a method that was used long before firearms were around, dating all the way back to 4,000 years ago. Chuck Morgan, who's been a lifelong traditional hunter, was just introduced to falcon hunting and enjoys working with an animal to capture one.
I've really enjoyed just learning more about the bird and the falconry, and with a gun, you're going out with the purpose of harvesting the animal. With this, is the attention is a little bit different because it's more about the bird and the flights and watching her work and interaction there.
What sets falcon hunting apart from other methods of hunting are the way falconers interact with the bird. When using a firearm, for example, it's common for a hunter to use a dog to locate the prey. But according to Greg Inman, an 8-year veteran of falcon hunting, there's somewhat of a role reversal when it comes to hunting with hawks.
When they go out with us, we're the dogs. You know, we're beating the brush for them. You know, they do all the hunting, and it's just great. I mean, I don't mind being a dog for him. I enjoy it a lot.
You actually serve their needs, because if they're up in a tree in the wild, they have to sit there for hours and hours sometimes for a mouse to move or a rabbit to move or a squirrel. But when I go out in the field, or other falconers go out in the field, our movement through the field causes a little bit of commotion and can bump the wild prey a little bit, and so the hawk is opportunistic.
Although hawks seem so graceful when they fly through the air, they move at a rapid pace when their prey is exposed. The rabbit narrowly escapes into the brush.
What was it, rabbit?
Yeah, I mean, he almost had it. Now watch as the hawk spots his prey from the tree and then drops directly on top of it.
Got her.
Once the jackrabbit has finally been caught, Chuck and Greg hide the rabbit over the hawk's talons and distract the hawk with a different rabbit caught from a previous hunt. This will trick the hawk into thinking he's eating what he's just caught. He will then loosen his grip on the rabbit, allowing Greg to take it.
Most falconers are conservationists first. It's not about the hunting for falconers, it's about just the love of the birds of prey, and it's a treat to have a chance to take a wild animal and work with it to the point where you can actually function together as a team in the field. So yeah, he's a little skittish with all the people watching, but
And joining us here in the studio is Alan Pope, who's Vice President of the Indiana Falconers Association. And Alan, it looks like you've brought someone along with you, but he's got some headgear on. Tell us about your bird.
Well, this is Wyatt. He is an immature first-year Harlan's hawk, which is a subspecies of the red-tailed hawk. And he is wearing a traditional falconry hood, which I'll take off.
Okay. Welcome to the show,
and,
Wyatt.
Yeah, and the falconry hood is really just to keep the bird calm. It fits and kind of blocks out his vision and makes him feel comfortable and calm.
How do you get the bird? Like, how did you come to know Wyatt and he become your partner?
Well, I trapped Wyatt out in Kansas earlier this year, but you know, to become a falconer, it is the most highly regulated sport in the country. You have to have a federal license, you have to have a state license, you have to be an apprentice for 2 years. You have to take a 120-question test and pass it with an 80% score. You have to build all the facilities. It's not a hobby, you know, it's a lifestyle.
I was reading in your website, they make sure you know this is not a pet.
Yes, yes.
And tell us a little bit about the Falcon Association here in Indiana and how it got started.
Well, the Indiana Falconers Association began 1967, and we have about, upward of 80 licensed falconers in the state of Indiana, about 4,000 falconers in the United States. But it's practiced as a sport all over the world. In fact, the United Nations Cultural Agency, UNESCO, in November of last year formally acknowledged falconry as a global heritage culture, which means that signatory nations like the United States will always protect falconry as a cultural practice and tradition. So that was special.
It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm curious, how did you start this yourself?
Well, you know, it's really, for me, it wasn't about the hunting. It was really about the birds. They're just remarkable animals to watch them fly. I got into the sport in 1984 when I was in college and started my apprenticeship there, and it's been a love affair ever since.
And if people are interested in finding out more information, or if they want to become a part of this, how do they
absolutely.
do that?
I would recommend they go to our website, and if you just Google Indiana Falconers Association, it'll be the first thing that pops up. It's indianafalconersassociation.org, and you can learn more about it there.
And I'm sure, Alan, a lot of what you do too is educational.
Absolutely.
A lot of people watching who may be even game hunters may see the falcon as a competition, but really they're not.
That's a great point. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act protects all birds of prey. So it is absolutely illegal to shoot or trap or possess a bird of prey like this without the special permits that you can get through the government. You can learn more through the Indiana Department of Natural Resources as well, and they'll send out a packet of information. So.
One thing too that we noticed on the footage there is it talked about 70 to 80% don't survive past their first year. Why is that?
That's right. Well, you know, the wild is a hard place to survive. These birds sometimes don't learn how to hunt effectively. They can get injured, break a wing, get bitten by a squirrel, gets infected, parasites. Could be man-made causes. They get hit by a truck. They get electrocuted on a transformer. Any number of reasons why they might not survive. So it's a dangerous world out there, even for the hawk.
Absolutely. About how many people are involved in Indiana, do you know?
Well, there are about 80 licensed falconers in the state, and but we have about over 100 members in our club that are associate members. They're not licensed falconers, but they just love to be around the birds of prey, and
And you said there were state and federal laws regarding this.
Absolutely.
As well as to get a license, so it's really hard to do, which is probably a good thing.
Absolutely it is. It is not something to take lightly. It is a huge commitment, and the falconry community is very focused on making sure it's handled right and the birds are well taken care of.
Well, Alan, this has been absolutely fascinating to me, and thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Again, thank you, Wyatt, for being so calm and wonderful there. We just thought it was awesome.